All right, let's talk about a car so powerful, so different, that after it won Le Mans, they banned it. Yeah, you heard that right. The Mazda 787B is the only rotary-powered car to ever win the world's toughest endurance race, and they made sure it stayed that way. Why? What made this beast so legendary that it was deemed too dangerous to come back? Stick around, because this is the insane story of a car that rewrote the rules at Le Mans. Imagine pulling up to the biggest race in the world with a car that doesn't sound like anything else on the track, doesn't move like anything else, and then obliterates the competition. Just when you're ready to come back and do it all over again, the rulebook says, nope, you're too good. Banned. Why? What did Mazda do to make Le Mans literally rewrite the rules after their historic victory in 1991? Trust me, this story is about more than speed. It's about changing the game. Let's roll back to 1991. Le Mans, the Super Bowl of endurance racing. 24 hours of non-stop driving where cars are pushed to their absolute limits. And here comes Mazda with their 787B, powered by something no one else was using, a rotary engine. Now, most cars run on piston engines, you know, your classic vroom vroom, but Mazda, they showed up with a 4-rotor wankel engine, the R26B. Here's why that's wild. The rotary engine is way lighter, simpler, and it revs insanely high, up to 9,000 revolutions per minute. It produced a screeching 700 horsepower and could still keep up with the bigger, heavier piston engine cars. The 787B was like an underdog that came out swinging. You hear that? That's the sound of 24 hours of relentless high-speed domination. Mazda didn't just finish, they took the win by 2 whole laps. And just when they were gearing up for a return in 92, they hit a wall. A rule change, courtesy of the FIA. And here's where it gets really interesting. After Mazda's win, the FIA, which governs Le Mans, announced a major rule shakeup. They decided that starting in 1992, the top category, Group C, would only allow 3.5-liter piston engines, the same type of engines being used in Formula One at the time. In other words, no more rotary engines. Look, you don't ban something just because it sounds cool, right? But this wasn't just about noise. This was a huge shift towards aligning with more conventional engines and attracting big manufacturers like Peugeot, Mercedes-Benz, and Toyota. Mazda's rotary didn't fit that new vision. The rotary engine gave Mazda an edge. It was lighter, smaller, and could rev higher, meaning fewer pit stops and a more reliable engine over 24 hours. But there was a downside: fuel consumption. That 787B was a beast, but it also guzzled fuel like there was no tomorrow. And endurance racing was starting to shift toward more fuel-efficient, eco-friendly technology. Here's where the Mazda story gets deeper. The rotary engine was a genius piece of engineering, but it had its flaws. The wankel engine is simpler than traditional piston engines, fewer moving parts, no valves, and it's smaller. This made it great for weight reduction and higher RPMs, but the downsides? Rotary engines burn a lot of fuel and oil, like a lot. They're also known for being less efficient at turning fuel into usable power. Mazda's engineers pushed the limits to make it reliable, but the reality was, it wasn't the most efficient engine out there. Endurance racing was starting to focus on sustainability, less fuel, fewer pit stops, and Mazda's rotary? It was, let's just say, not the greenest car on the track. So while Mazda fans might argue that the rotary was banned because it was too dominant, the truth is, the FIA and ACO wanted a level playing field with engines that could be used in both racing and road cars. Rotary engines? Yeah, cool in concept, but not practical for your average driver. And definitely not what the sport wanted to showcase in the new era of Le Mans. And before you ask, no, Mazda didn't slip a rotary engine into your mom's minivan, though wouldn't that have been fun? But here's the real kicker. Just because they banned the rotary from racing doesn't mean the 787B was forgotten. Today, it's a legend. Mazda's victory wasn't just a win, it was a statement. This car still gets paraded around at events, and fans? They still freak out when they hear that distinct rotary scream. The Mazda 787B wasn't just another race car, it was an icon, a symbol of how thinking outside the box can lead to historic victories. And while the rotary engine may never race at Le Mans again, its legacy will never be forgotten. And hey, if you're into stories like this, cars that broke the mold and changed the racing world, hit that subscribe button. I've got more of these insane racing stories coming your way. And let's be honest, you don't want to miss more legendary cars and racing drama, right? Or are you going to settle for stories about boring engines? Nah, I didn't think so. Hit subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one.